And then they saw me in a bra, and that was it.
What's going on, Pearl Jam nerds? You're listening to Single Podcast Theory. I'm Brad Lyons.
And I'm Brad Blazek.
And I've got a squeaky chair.
Yeah, I think mine is. Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
Yeah, that's all right.
Blazy, you're right in front of me,
I know,
man.
this is awesome.
We're just hanging out. Two Pearl Jam bros. Gonna talk about some real sad shit.
Yeah, heavy. We're going to get
stuff.
heavy.
Heavy, but beautiful. And transcendent. We will get into all that later.
Yeah.
So this is episode 98. Last week, if you've been sticking with us week by week, we talked about the Into the Wild soundtrack. And from the perspective of two people that have never seen the movie, which we hadn't. So we decided, we got so much feedback from you guys about this episode, which actually kind of shocked us. I mean, we knew there were fans and people loved the stuff or whatever, but I didn't expect to get that many.
Right.
Immediate. It usually takes a few days for people to listen to an episode, kind of think about it, write something back in. But I feel like we were getting some emails right away.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Even to the point of I just saw the title of what the episode is, haven't listened to it yet, but I'm psyched, kind of thing. So what we decided to do is that since Brad was popping through town, I can't believe this all.
It worked out so great.
Worked out so well.
Yeah.
But his daughter Amanda is going to join us a little bit later to actually talk about the movie because
she's waving
waving from the control room. Because we're gonna got to juxtapose hopefully her experience having read the book and at least seeing most of the movie.
Yeah, I think she saw it in school,
right?
And they didn't finish it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple scenes I'm kind of glad maybe she didn't see in school.
Really?
Yeah, I mean there's some nudity.
Oh,
there's
come on, man.
Full frontal on old Chris floating down the river.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
that's funny.
I saw it.
Oh, yeah,
loud
you did.
And clear.
Never mind. I had so many comebacks for that I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
Maybe it's telling that I'm the only one that noticed that.
Probably
because she probably didn't even realize it either. She didn't. She's shaking her head.
Hey, will you do me a favor and unplug her headphones so that it's not coming out of there?
Oh yeah. Is it this one?
All right. So if you are joining us for the first time, we are an all Pearl Jam podcast. We've talked about all their records. We've talked about live shows. We just try and dive into anything Pearl Jam related. And sometimes that means we've done Chris Cornell episodes in the past because of their tight relationship. And yeah, we kind of try and go as many places as we can, but staying within the kind of the bounds of Pearl Jam.
Right. We did do a Metallica show episode once.
It's true.
And I don't think that'll ever happen again.
Didn't go over so well.
No, it didn't.
It's all right, man.
Yeah. That was a B&B.
Yeah, we just
episode.
released it on the wrong day, guys.
Yeah.
Get off our backs.
Right. Yeah.
So should we just get into emails?
Sure. Let's do it.
I think I'm starting this week.
Yep.
And I recognize this name. We've got Tom Leahy. He says, "Hola, amigos. A few thoughts on Into the Wild. So far as the movie goes, I have a complicated relationship with Into the Wild. The scale tips towards this. Although I've only seen the movie once, I've probably thought about it at least once a week ever since I saw it in the theaters in 2007. Now that I've seen it, it makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
There aren't many movies or books or albums that I contemplate so frequently. I think the reason I often reflect on it is that Chris McCandless' story uniquely represents the way a vibrant life and the risk of losing it can live so closely together. That's something I think most of us know something about intuitively, one way or another, because of our own lifestyle or that of someone we know, but that we don't talk about it out loud very much. And because that's the case, we don't really come to terms with the fear of losing someone we love as they pursue doing something they love. We want them to live safely, but don't easily take responsibility for what life they aren't living when they're reassuring us that we don't lose them unexpectedly. It's hard to find firm ground on that spectrum. I think you can hear that tension explored in a lot of Ed's compositions, especially from Yield on. Or you can see the tension of it in his death-defying stage behavior during early tours. That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you did this episode. Despite your reservations going into it, your discussion revealed how the soundtrack lives significantly in the larger story of Pearl Jam's music. Best, Tom. Yeah, man. I don't want to get too much into his email because I feel like a lot of that is going to come up later when we talk about it. But
well, I think just the fact that after watching the movie, it totally clicks that Eddie would be involved with this project and that he would relate to Chris on the level that he does.
Absolutely.
So,
which is, again, we'll save it, but which is why he ended up, now that I've seen the movie, not only do I love him, and he's a great songwriter anyway, but he was really kind of perfect for this film.
Right, definitely.
Thanks again, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom. Michelle Hoffman writes in, "Good day, Brads. Thanks for another great show. I may have nodded off a few times, only when music was playing. This record is a snooze-a-rama. I feel bad as I love Pearl Jam so much. Am I not a true fan? Anywho, thanks again. Cheers, Michelle Dubbo, Australia."
As I said last episode, I was in the boat with you, Michelle.
Yeah. I wonder if Michelle's seen the movie.
I wonder, well, and for me though, yes, the movie has solidified the change in feelings I have about this music.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know what it was about this time around, giving it another try, that it really worked for me.
Yeah.
So maybe your time will come, Michelle.
Yeah.
And guess what? If you're not into it, it's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, doesn't mean you're not a true fan.
Right. That doesn't work that way.
Because up until today, I was not a huge fan of the soundtrack either.
Sure.
So
yeah, I think minds are being changed.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Michelle. Here we go. Brad Lyon's going to fuck up some pronunciation here. Got a friend from Spain writing in. It says, "Hello, my friends. My name is Francesc. I'm going to go with that for the first name. Guillemon. I'm going to go with that too. That might have sounded a little too French. I don't know.
that's what I was thinking. Gila.
Now he has made a request and parenthetical statement here. Try to say it, Blaze.
I've been trying since we got it. And I will say, I said at first I thought it was Francesca. And you were like, there's no A.
Right.
So it's Francesc?
Maybe. I don't know if that first C is
why both of us are like fixated on it being French. Like, because this is like Francesc.
Right.
I don't know. To me, that would be French.
Anyway, he's from Barcelona.
Guillemon?
There you go. Gula. You went Gula.
Guillemon.
It's
Guillemon.
It's got to be Guy.
Guy.
Yeah.
Guy.
There goes the new nickname. What's up, Guy?
Gigi. What up, Guy?
Oh, you like Gigi?
Gigi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out real quick, I'm sure, by email whether or not he hates that.
Yeah.
Let's see here. First of all, I want to apologize for my mistakes in writing. I'm not very good at English. It's fine.
Dude.
I'm not very good at reading, so don't worry about it.
I've read this email. You are you are way better at English than I am at Spanish. And if you didn't mention,
I will back this up.
If you didn't
You're
mention,
probably better at English than he is at English.
Well, you're better at English than a lot of native English speakers. So if he didn't say that part, I wouldn't even have known.
Let's see here. Oh, okay. I'm not very good at English, but since I started listening to this podcast, and after almost 100 episodes, you are considered my teachers, and no joke, I've improved a lot. The funny thing is that now I can't talk without using your quotes, like lions. God. I know, I'm trying so hard not to do it. Like lions, does it make sense? Your usual no shit fucks, and my favorite, when Kate said once, "Holy macaroni." I just wanted to say that right now I just finished listening to all the episodes from the beginning to the end. In huge coincidence, I'm riding inside a plane after I've finished your Into the Wild episode. Guess where I'm going? To Florence to see my first Eddie Vedder solo show. I'm so happy because I'll see him tomorrow and again in Barcelona next week. Even if it's not Pearl Jam at all, I just love Eddie's solo singing as much as it was the whole band. I started listening to them on the Avocado album and then came into the Wild. For me, it was the first new surprise, and I listened to it 1,000 times. Love the movie as well. I always say that it is one of my favorites. Don't want to make any spoiler, but one of the cathartic moments during Christopher McCandless's journey is when appears the sentence, "Happiness is only real when it is shared." I can't agree more with that, as this is what we are all doing, spending hours and hours talking about songs. It would be enough by listening to them, but as human subjects, we need to share the feelings we get through the melodies. The point is that the musical culture in Spain is really, really bad. With all the... What is that?
Reggaeton?
What is that? I've never heard of that before.
I think it's just,
Type of reggae?
Yeah.
Like electronic reggae or
I think
something?
so, yeah.
Interesting. I need to check that out. All right.
No, not according to Guy.
Oh, yeah, I guess we're ready to find out.
He doesn't like it.
With all the reggaeton and stuff like that. The music is one of the most important things in my life. I have my own band, but I don't really know many people to talk and share these feelings in that level you do on the show. So here you are. Only by listening to the podcast, I'm satisfied. Thank you very much again. And now that I've caught up to all the episodes, I'll keep writing if you like. Yes, please, of course. See you, Pearl Jam nerds. I'm going to see Eddie tomorrow. You-hoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
That's kick ass.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I don't know. Not to get too meta, but to think that what we're doing, just talking and recording, that this is going out all over the world, and there's some dude in Spain.
I try not to think about it. Thanks.
that we're teaching somebody English. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, that's a shame. Nah, just kidding. Man, thanks so much for writing in.
thank
I
you,
appreciate
Guy.
it, man. I can't wait to hear from you again.
Thank you, Francesc Guillamon.
Yes.
Guillamon. All right, Brad Harris. Brad.
That's right.
Hey, Brads. Another quality episode, lads. Couple of quick points. Glad to hear you both enjoy digging deeper into Ed's solo stuff. I think The Wolf reminds me a lot of Ark. I do too.
Yep.
And I meant to bring that up, but I don't know. It didn't come up in that episode. But one of the most hauntingly beautiful performances I've experienced was Ed performing Ark in his solo show a few years ago. Every light in the theater went off, and then it began. Seriously, wow. Ed was using the looper like a boss years before these hipsters started using them. Ed's solo shows are something else. We sat in the back of the theater, yet we felt like we were sitting in the same lounge room. His solo shows are something all Pearl Jam fans need to experience. I think that's true. Have you ever seen him
I haven't.
Solo? Mm-mm. I haven't either.
I want to
but
now.
I do, especially now.
I wanted to before, but
right.
really
but now it like, yeah,
Right.
it seems like it would be pretty cool. Because I'm sure he plays a few, if not a bunch of these songs.
I would think so.
On the Foo Fighters discussion, I completely agree and disagree with you, Blazy. They don't compare to Pearl Jam, but who does? Always an unfair comparison. I'm a big fan of some of the Foo catalog, but much of it is a bit pedestrian. If you haven't already, you need to watch the Sound City and the Back and Forth documentaries. Then listen to their Wasting Light album. I think it's brilliant. The albums before and after Wasting Light aren't in the same ballpark, unfortunately, in my opinion. But that one is a cracking record, up there with the first two Foo records. Keep up the good work. Really appreciate all the hard work you both invest into the show. Brad Harris, Adelaide, Australia.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, I forgot to say good day, Brad.
Yeah, right. Thank God you remembered. I do have something to say that I wanted to make kind of I don't know if correction is the right word, for something I said when this topic came up last episode, which is that I am a huge Foo Fighters fan. And what I was trying to say last time was that I ended up coming across more like, well, Foo Fighters don't get political and da-da-da, which is fucking not true. Like, they've done tons of stuff for, like, Rock the Vote type stuff.
Yeah.
They're very active and all that. I think what I was trying to get at between the two of them, and I was able to kind of put it together after I heard what I said, like in editing or whatever, which is just that the Foo Fighters have a lot more levity and kind of, it's heavy music, it's kick-ass music, it's aggressive music, but their tie-in with just humor and satire and poking fun at things through their videos and not taking themselves too seriously, especially in the beginning, and especially when Taylor came on board and they were like best friends. I loved it when I would see that on MTV, like when Dave and Taylor would take over hosting duties or something like that. That's what I meant by it. They both have voices. They both have political leanings. They're both open about it. They just completely approach those things in different ways. Yeah. And that's what I was trying to get across. Because I would have been a little, as a Foo Fighters fan, the way I said what I said, I was like, that's not what I mean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I just wanted to make a correction.
Have you seen Sound City?
Oh, yeah.
You've seen the Back and Forth documentary also? That's like the...
I actually have not watched that.
Really? It's really good.
Yeah, I want to.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's up there with PJ20.
I think there was just this period of time where, for me, I felt a little inundated around that time with the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going on with them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So I have things that are on my list that I need to go back to.
Yeah, it's good.
That's one of them.
It's a real good, history of the band type documentary.
Right. Well, thanks again, Brad. Appreciate it. Good to hear from you again.
Yep. Thanks, bud.
We've got our friend, Christy Borgman. She loves Into the Wild by her subject with the hearts.
Yes.
Hey, Brad's listening to the Into the Wild episode. I've been wondering if you're going to cover this. I love this album and movie. I saw the movie and was so moved that I drove out to Salvation Mountain and Slab City to see where part of it was filmed. Leonard Knight, the artist who built Salvation Mountain, has since passed, but he was there the day I drove out the first time, and he was so kind. He welcomed me and told me to stay as long as I wanted to take photos. I've been back several times over the years and have even helped to mix Adobe and Paint on their volunteer days. It doesn't play a big part in the movie, but I loved the scene. Brad's, please see the movie. Done. Seeing the images on the big screen with Eddie's music was very moving, though I'm sure it would be still be great on TV or laptop. I heard a bunch of these songs live on Eddie's solo tour in April of 2008 when he played the Wiltern in L.A. I got to meet him outside the venue after one of the shows. He was nice enough to stop for a bunch of us who were waiting and sign my poster from the event.
Oh, Christy.
I know, right? That's awesome. My favorite song on the album is Guaranteed. It has some of my favorite lyrics ever written. So good, man. And I loved the humming version at the beginning of the movie. That was great. I was wondering when they would use the humming version. Let's see. And if you guys are wondering, I have not cut in Brad singing. He's singing while I'm talking. But I'm going to continue out of respect for Christy, who took the time to write our email, or her email to us. It has some of my favorite lyrics ever written. Wind in my hair, I feel part of everywhere. Underneath my being is a road that disappeared. Late at night, I hear the trees. They're singing with the dead overhead. Leave it to me as I find a way to be. Consider me a satellite forever orbiting. I knew all the rules, but the rules did not know me. Guaranteed. I like he got into the character's brain, and that's maybe why I love it so much. Really, all the songs. He is writing from the perspective of the character, and it just accompanies the movie so well. In my earlier years, I felt like doing a similar thing. Off-grid in wilderness, but not Alaska. That Chris did, but I never had the guts to do it. R.I.P. Christopher McCandless. Cheers, Christy. She did say, P.S. I dug the format. I like hearing the full songs with commentary after each. Awesome. We might do that again sometime.
Yeah, I liked it. She also included the picture of the signed poster.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. It's a cool poster.
Hell yeah, it is.
So,
thanks for the email, Christy.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Last one.
All right. Jeff Keller.
Yeah, man.
Hello again, Brads. I was very happily surprised that you decided to cover this record. Didn't think it was going to happen. And I was equally as happy to hear that Brad Lyons now really likes it. I would highly recommend reading the book and watching the movie and then go listen to the soundtrack again. It will give you a better perspective for these songs. I read somewhere that Ed took the movie with him and basically wrote this music over a weekend. To me, that's the definition of talent. I totally want to read the book now.
Yeah, I do too.
Because you know every book is way more detailed.
Yep.
You know, so I'm like, yeah, I got to see this. I got to read this. I saw Eddie Vedder at the Pilgrimage Festival in Franklin, Tennessee a couple of years ago, and he performed several of these songs. They sounded really good live. He closed with Big Hard Sun, and it turned into a big sing-along at the end. As the large crowd was streaming out of the venue very slowly, a lot of people were still singing the chorus. It was pretty cool. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Like he's done, he's gone, and people are still singing.
Right.
So thanks again for doing this episode and for doing the podcast. I'm sure that my fellow listeners would agree that this is greatly enjoyed and appreciated. And he also
same lyric.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew all the rules, but the rules did not know me. Guaranteed. Peace, Jeff K.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude. Thank you.
Thanks,
for
Jeff.
the kind words.
It's good to see that name up on the email again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're kind of chomping at the bit to not talk about the movie.
Right.
So let's
trying
just
to save it for this next section.
So we're going to be right back. We're going to get Amanda in the room with us, and then we're going to talk about the movie. Cool?
Love it.
All right. Let's get into this week's topic, episode 98, commentary on Into the Wild. And we've got our guest this week, Amanda.
Hello.
The daughter of the
Yes.
Blazer.
Well, we should say we're together. We're live.
We're all in the
live
same room
person.
together.
Yeah.
And
Nice
it's
little
actually
vibe.
the first time that me and Brad Lyons have actually
Yeah.
met in person. But
We were hanging out in the backyard last night at my place after you guys came back from the show, and it kind of hit me. I said, hey, we talked like we had talked 1,000 times before, and I realized we've never met in person before,
Yeah.
so this is pretty cool.
yeah.
So one of the things we wanted to do this week was we got a lot of reaction from doing the soundtrack episode last week, and Brad and I had never seen the film before, so we decided maybe it'd be a good idea for us to watch it since we were going to be together and kind of see how that reshapes our idea of the soundtrack on its own with no context of the movie. And Amanda had already read the book, correct?
Yes.
Fancy.
Which I've also not done and seen at least some of the movie
Yeah.
before, right? So
Yeah.
for you, it was like a second viewing.
Yeah.
And for us, we're just now taking
First.
it in. So
Yeah.
we're going to kind of cut with the bullshit. This is going to be a little bit different of an episode because we won't have tons of drops, or we're just trying to catch this while it's fresh.
Right.
I'll start with you. How did you feel watching it for the first time?
Man, it was heavy. Heavier than I thought.
Good movie heavy or bum you out heavy?
No, good movie. I think the biggest misconception I had about the movie was that I thought it was going to be like Castaway, where you
Right,
get like
just him.
you get his parents and his sister maybe for 5 minutes in the beginning, then it's all him, like
Right.
out in the Alaskan wildlife, and then that's it.
Right.
But there was a lot more going on with the family story and the people he met, and just I really liked the movie though a lot.
Me too. Yeah. Well, how was it for you having read the book, being away from it for a while?
Yeah.
What was it like?
A lot of it was new to me. But there were some parts that I had been waiting for it to happen, and I was like, oh no, I'm not ready. It's coming.
Right.
And so it still was emotional. Like, I'm emotional for everything, but I was like, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Well, and that was the interesting thing is that I just knew like a basic idea of the plot.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I didn't realize that. I thought this was fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize this was a true story.
And I really like at the ending where they have the actual picture of him, and it
Yeah.
says like it's undeveloped.
Right.
Like
They
I was
found
They
it on
found
his
oh my
camera.
gosh.
Yeah.
So he's never actually seen that photo.
Right.
And that's like, it's weird that, we're seeing this photo and he hasn't seen it. And he
Yeah.
never will. That's
There's
crazy.
just so many. I mean, this movie, to me anyway, from first watch, we just got done watching it like 30 minutes ago.
Right.
Took a little break. It's like hitting existentialism from every fucking direction. It almost seems like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From different, from his parents' perspective in a way. Obviously, from his perspective, the other characters that are in the film that he meets along the way. Because like you, I was watching the opening sequence with Vince Vaughn and like
Right.
just all William Hurt and like huge actresses
Hal
and actors. Yeah, man.
And Jenna Malone,
I had no idea
and
she was in it.
Kristen Stewart, man,
Yeah.
you see that and you're like, oh, this is going to be a different kind of movie than I thought. Like I just said,
Right. Well, and we looked and it was 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, that
and
was
I was
the
like,
other-
what?
I was like,
And then I saw
whoa.
those names. I was like, okay, this makes
Yeah.
much more sense.
Yeah.
They're gonna dig into like some of the people that were maybe
Yeah,
he crossed paths with along this way in a meaningful way.
Right.
You know, I'm sure that he met tons of people
Well, again,
that he
like,
could have written about. But
I thought it was literally like, okay, I'm done with society. I'm going to Alaska, and you know, we know.
Right.
Hopefully, people have seen the movie and we're not spoiling it. But he dies in the end. So I figured that's all it was. It's
yeah,
like,
how old is this movie?
How old is it?
this movie? Yeah.
I don't even know. 2010,
I think the statute of
2008.
limitations on
Okay.
spoiler alerts is
But that's what I figured it was. That was it. So it was pretty cool to see that. No, he did a lot more traveling than just going
Yeah.
straight to Alaska.
Yep.
You know, and he met a lot of different types of people.
So before we get into maybe more directly about the way we feel about the music now, having seen the movie, what are some of the things that stood out to you the most, I guess?
I guess the biggest thing is like listening to the soundtrack is just one little puzzle piece.
Right.
Watching the movie, you get the whole sense of the picture, the puzzle put together.
Yeah.
And it really makes a difference with listening to those songs, because you do get the context
Sure.
of what's happening. And some of the songs that I didn't like, I was like, oh, like No Ceiling fits perfectly in that scene, where just listening to it, you know, over the years, it's just like, I don't really like this song that much. But then watching it in that scene, and I found that happened a few times.
Yeah. It's funny, for me, the music was very, I mean, to go ahead and jump into it, I guess, like, the ones that I felt like, there was no song on that record that I hate or don't like or whatever, but some that I was kind of like, okay, it's cool, but it's not really my bag. This is not one that I'm going to like pull up to listen to necessarily. Those were the ones that kind of like stood out the most to me in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like The Wolf. And what was the other one? Oh, he's on Uke. It's just him. Oh, what's it called? Is it The Rise? I'm so bad with song names. Rise.
You know what? Hold on, I got my notes. It's Rise.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was like two of my favorite musical moments in
Right.
the whole thing, and those were two of the songs that when we did the breakdown of just, you know, the music, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, but they made so much more sense in the movie.
Yeah.
Which I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
To some of the songs.
Yeah.
But
No, but I was surprised at how well they did fit in to the movie. Another thing about the music in general, like, to me, Into the Wild, whenever I think of this movie or it pops up on TV, to me, it's the Eddie Vedder music movie. Mm-hmm. Now, he's all over this movie, but he's not 100%. Like, there's a lot of other music going on.
And whoever kind of quote unquote produced all the music between the score, Eddie's songs, anything else that they put together, did a really good job of matching through music what you're seeing on the screen.
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah.
because I know this probably sounds weird, but for some reason, I'm not a very, I guess, visual person, or I don't think of myself in that way, just in day-to-day life. But for some reason, with music, sounds the only way to know to say it is like I see a lot, right? It's kind of
Right.
like music is very visual to me.
Yeah.
And over the years, when I thought of Eddie, he goes from, you first hear him with like 10 or whatever, and you think he's that.
Yeah.
And then Versus comes out, and it's like, oh. Like, and for me, it was like, I loved 10 Eddie, but I fucking am madly in love with
Right.
Versus Eddie. And then you get into Vitology, and it changes, and he gets, what I think of is like, I feel like you hear him changing as a person, right? With how he writes, how he sings, the way he emotes, the way he reacts to things now. I mean, you think of someone like Eddie Vedder as being a very politically open person, right? He doesn't shy away from those conversations in any way. And you think, you could easily make the argument, people, you know, our age, his age, I would think definitely Amanda's age too, even, that whatever quote unquote side you're on, this is like a super weird time to be alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's relatively quiet now.
Right.
You would think this is the time when Eddie would just be jumping up and down and, you know, fucking like, hey, everybody. And he's not silent, but he's pretty laid back about it.
He's not as outspoken as he was or would have been in the early
Right.
90s.
But I've always come to this point where I feel like Eddie is a super hippie, right? And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
And visually, I hear his voice as being extremely like raw and organic, and I do like it's textured to me. This is the part that sounds weird,
Yeah.
but it makes sense to me like tree bark. Does that make sense? Like that really rough kind of
Yeah.
texture to it
Yeah,
or whatever. But there's beauty to it as well. It's
Yeah.
not all just rough. But that's the difference between him vocally and most other male singers that are out there. There's that like really tense, it sounds aggressive and fragile at the same time. You know what I mean? To me, it's that rough texture.
Yeah.
Whereas I think of someone like, maybe like Chris Cornell in the later Soundgarden years or through his solo work. He can definitely get raspy and crazy or whatever, but I feel like his kind of natural singing voice as he matured actually cleaned up a lot.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's very
true.
smooth and like, yeah, it's very smooth.
Yeah.
That's how I see Chris Cornell's voice. And Eddie has always been that kind of naturey.
Mm-hmm.
And so hearing him in those songs put against that visual of mountain ranges and woods and no human-made thing really to be
Right.
seen for large periods of time other than these things that he's carried with him, it just matched so perfectly
Yeah.
to me.
Well,
Which
you
made it better.
getting back to you said Eddie is hippie Eddie.
Yeah.
There was a point. I think it's the Hal Holbrook character picks him up in a pickup truck. Someone's got a pickup truck, and I've immediately thought of
It was the guy that dropped him off and gave him the boots and said, if you make
yeah
it
in
back
the
out,
beginning.
call me.
Yeah, but it immediately made me think of Eddie disappearing in his pickup truck during was it Versus?
Yep.
And being gone for like a week and nobody knew where he was. And I'm like, that's why he identifies so much with this
Yeah.
movie and these songs, because if anyone was going to go out to Alaska and get away from society, it's Eddie,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel after watching the movie, especially that I probably identifies with Chris McCandless
Which made it
lot.
even better for him to
Yeah.
write the music.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
It's cool that you made that point because I was like, what made Eddie want to do all these songs? I think that you had pointed out that he had written these songs in the past, but he kind of put them all together for this movie. But
I know. I was saying that he didn't do that.
Oh, he didn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because some
Oh,
people,
that's
when
cool.
they come into
Yeah.
this, like, they'll have, and maybe he did a little bit, but
Yeah.
I don't think anything was completed songs
Yeah.
that he said,
Right.
oh, this would fit for
Yeah,
this.
yeah, that's. I was.
You know what I
kinda
mean?
confused
Like,
about that,
I
but
think he did actually
Yeah.
kind of go in and it sounds like, quote unquote, from scratch, whatever that really
Right.
means. It was for the movie.
Yeah.
But it's cool that there was actually a connection instead of just like, oh, I'll do a movie.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Because it becomes formulaic and
yeah.
and the whole, I mean, you think about Sean Penn directing it, right? And all of that, it was all the right moves. Like all the right choices were made, it seems
Yeah.
like. And I understand this isn't necessarily, I don't know where this fits into, movie history as
Yeah.
far as like how it'll stand up over a long period of time. But I was kind of shocked I wasn't shocked that it was a good movie. I did not expect it to go so
In depth.
deep,
Yeah, me neither.
psychologically and culturally, and the levels that they went to with
Right.
that is what surprised me the
Yeah.
most about the
I mean,
movie.
super detailed about the different times that he traveled,
Yeah.
and some of the people he met.
Well, a lot of times too, these movies where they time jump,
Yeah.
that can be a really hard thing to pull off, and not everyone pulls it off. But I never felt lost
Yeah.
with like, oh, where is he? When is he now?
I did
Or-
one time towards the end where he was like poisoned, and
Oh, and then they went back to the.
and then he's at
Hal Holbrook's-
yeah, he's
yeah.
in the house getting
Yeah.
clothes out of the dryer. I'm like, did he
Right.
Did he make it out?
No,
maybe
you're
that
right.
was on purpose.
That messed with me for a minute.
Yeah,
too,
but besides that, it was good. The only other hindsight is 2020, and like I'm not a filmmaker, but like the song Society, I think that would have been cool if they played it in the scene where he comes back to society.
Completely disagree.
Really?
Oh wait, what do you mean?
He's
when he
like
comes
walking
back?
through the streets. He's like, he goes to the mission.
Oh, when he's
and
like in
gonna
LA or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm like, that would have been a cool point for
Gotcha.
that song to play over that scene.
Yeah.
Because they play it right after that when he's back. But it also works as he's thinking about being back in LA,
Right.
and saying like, society, you're crazy.
Well, isn't
So-
that what he and Vince Vaughn were yelling drunkenly in that bar,
Yeah.
like in the scene? I don't know, 10 minutes before,
Right.
or 30 minutes before.
Vince Vaughn?
Yeah.
What? Why did he get arrested? That I didn't.
Oh yeah, what were the
Yeah,
black
I-
boxes? What were those?
I don't know.
I was like, man, I must have like started thinking about something
Yeah.
during
Yeah,
that.
was he stealing cable? Because they said something about free
Nah,
satellites.
man, you don't get jacked like that for stealing cable.
I'm just saying, like, that's the only thing I could think of because they
I mean, he
mentioned
could've-
something about free satellite dishes.
Oh, so the black boxes were probably he was probably selling them to people like black market kind of shit.
Maybe
Man,
that's where my mind went, trying to unlock that. Like,
well, guess what? It doesn't matter. He's
I
in
thought
jail.
they were coming to get Chris. Like,
Yeah,
they
me too.
figured
I thought
out.
the parents had raised a bunch of hell and found him, and
Well, because he was getting a paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
so he must have given his tax information, and they figured it out.
okay, so let's do this real quick. Yeah, so think about the fucking Watson brain you have to have had in 1990 to try and find your kid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is pre-internet. This is the whole no social media, no nothing. So when that scene where he cuts up his IDs and burns his social
Yeah.
security card and all that stuff, like, it's a big fucking deal for someone to
Yeah.
do that kind of thing. You know, you could never get away with that now. I feel like you'd literally have to go to another part of. You'd have to go to fucking Mongolia
Yeah.
and just dig in for no one to find you. Now,
Right.
You know.
Yeah, in 1991, 92, you could do it,
Yeah.
not easily, but you could just go off the grid. And,
For sure.
You know, if you wanted to not be found.
So, question for each of you, Amanda,
Yeah.
or whoever wants to go first, and then I'll think about it while you guys are answering. And did you relate to Chris's character, and what was the main way you, if so, what was the main way you felt like you related to his character?
Well, there was, I was actually kind of inspired. Like, it was not that I want to go off for the rest of my
Sure.
life, but I was like, I kind of want to just go hiking or, just go camping for a few days and just get away
Yeah.
from my phone
Yeah.
and, like, not worry about money. And there was a quote in the movie that he said, and he said, "My days were more exciting when I was penniless."
Yep.
And I was like, man,
It's kind of true.
it is.
That's why I don't stress about money anymore. It's like I don't mean this in some bullshit kind of way, but I mean, I'm a musician in not a music town, and that's what I'm doing to make my living, which means I can, pay my bills, but I ain't got much more than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I used to worry about money so much and get so stressed out. And I don't mean like now I'm irresponsible, and I just mean the reality is that I am so fortunate with how many family members I have and friends that I have and people that care about me. And that is the only reason I think why, at least for a while, I never ended up homeless.
Right.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, and you don't take advantage of that, but
Well-
you kind of know, like, okay, if this gamble fails and I really end up on my ass, I have people that can
Right.
give me a hand to hold for a little bit while I get myself back together.
I think we
but-
are both responsible enough to get by.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, but that goes the whole thing. Like that quote that like stuck out to you is, it's so trite to say, but it doesn't. It's nice to have enough money to not be stressed about paying your bills, but there comes a point, I feel like, and I've never made tons of money, so I guess I don't know, but it seems like there might be a place for most people. Most people aren't built to have tons of money. And at some point, it kind of breaks down and is diminishing returns, and you become a super unhappy person, it seems like to me. So as I get older, I'm less and less concerned about how much money I have past the point of being able to be responsible and kind of take care of myself or whatever.
Now, did he, when he got paid for working for Vince Vaughn, he got a check. Did he like keep that, or did he give that away? Because I was under the impression that he got the check and then didn't spend it.
Yeah, because it showed him wherever he was laying down, and he looked at it. It was the $1,108 check.
Yeah. So that kind of blew my mind, because I was thinking, oh, he's not giving up on the dream of living away and off the grid, but he does realize, I got to make some money. That's what I was thinking. But then when he saw the check and he just like kind of like left it unsigned and uncashed, I was like, oh man, he just did it for the experience of working on that farm.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Right.
Like that's part of his journey of just being off the grid and just working on the land.
Yeah.
Not for money.
Yeah.
Just for the experience. I was like, oh man.
So like, what's another...
Well, wait, let me go back and answer your question.
Hold on, I want to ask her something
Okay.
else again real quick
Okay.
before we leave her. So like, go more into that, like why that stuck out to you.
I guess just because nowadays maybe it's because they are off the grid. We don't know where they are, but it's not common at all for a person to just be homeless on purpose and to want to just be in the wild like that. Like we have so much technology now that it's like, why would you want that? So for him to like just say like, I don't want that. Like I want to just be with all the animals and just see the nature, and I don't need the money to make me happy. I just need the nature. That was like that was cool.
Yeah.
That you can find happiness without money.
Yeah. But interesting too that the like, at least in the movie, the very last thing that he wrote down was that happiness is only real if it's shared. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
And he's like, he has a tear,
Which
and I was
just
like, oh no.
was another brutal part, because
Yeah.
it kind of was him realizing like he went so far on this one kind of trip that he realized that he missed out on the things that make all that important on some level. Now, he did share some of that time with the characters that they chose to put into the movie that he met along the way. So it's not like he died with this complete loneliness, but it does give you this opportunity to almost... Because most people don't have the chance to do that. Some people die however they die, and you don't get to know some of those most recent realizations they've maybe made about their life because they're gone. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to see someone that's so hell-bent on proving himself to people that can't even see what he's doing, right? His parents mainly. And then to be at the end of all that, like what it takes to be that extreme in what he did. Because while it's cool to go like, isn't that amazing? It is. And I like the philosophy behind it, and the concept is amazing, and I love it. However, he died.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he went so extreme with it, you know?
Yeah.
You kind of find yourself going through it going like, yeah, man, for someone like me anyway, yeah, I want to do something like that. And then as the movie goes on, you're like, you know what? I think I'm just going to find a cheap cabin in the mountains somewhere for 3 days and go by myself
Exactly.
and turn my phone off and let my family know I'm going to have it on from 7 to 8 every single night, checking messages, and you can call me. Other than that, I'll see you on Monday kind of thing. That might be the more responsible thing to do, since I am a 41-year-old man, not 21 years old. I have a kid. You know what I mean? Like, I can't leave for a month or even 2 weeks without feeling like a total piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Well, that kind of answers that's kind of my answer, is that when I was 21, I totally related to him and why, and what he wanted to do. But now as like a 44-year-old,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, no, dude.
That's a young man's game.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
I'm too old for that shit. I'd be
Yeah,
dead in a week.
Exactly. But it's like,
Where's my iced coffee?
I think,
Y'all sell jewels out here?
yeah, I think he learned a lot from his interaction with. Well, I don't know what Hal Holbrook's name was. Franz or Friends, Mr. Friends. Did you
what
catch
was
what
his name?
his name?
I think it was something to do with
Friends.
Mr. Friends.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think he learned a little bit from everybody, but I think that character had the most impact on him.
More of a father figure in a way.
Oh yeah, totally.
And
oh,
I do
how
remember that
heartbreaking.
in the book. I remember that.
You remember that character? Yeah. That
Yeah.
seems like it's kind of like all the characters are important, of course.
Yeah.
You know, the hippie couple.
Yeah.
Like hugely important to
Yeah.
the whole story and his life and all that.
But I think
But there's something about how
I think that line about happiness isn't real unless it's shared comes from hanging out with Mr. Friends and seeing that he was not happy because of what happened to his wife and kid, and he lived his whole life at that point, which has been a long time because he was in the army when that happened. So
they were both living self-imposed lives of exile
Right.
in completely different ways.
yeah, yep,
I guess I should answer my own question.
yeah. Did you relate to him or not relate to him, and why?
Like absolutely.
Yeah.
Like a little too much.
Are you two gonna go running off into the
No,
woods?
not at all. Like I said, like by the end of the movie, you kind of wake back up. And,
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like,
I was like, kind of want to, like in the beginning, I'm like, that'd be so cool, just throw my phone into the river.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, I'm like, no,
Right.
I don't want to die.
Yeah, totally. I think for me, it's just interesting that after all these years, like Brad, you and I were talking yesterday, I think, how I started thinking I love movies. Now that I've seen it, this is like right up my fucking alley as far as a movie goes.
Hell yeah.
Eddie Vedder did all the music. Sean Penn, who I'm a fan of, directed it. And I've never seen it until 2019.
Right.
And just because I was doing a podcast episode.
Right.
And I don't know that it could have been at a better time in my life to see the movie.
Right.
Because it's dealing with a lot of the stuff that I am dealing with now, making that kind of step around the corner from youth to, again, I ain't old yet, but
Right.
I'm not. You're in that weird in-between stage.
Yeah.
Or I am anyway. I feel like I don't feel old, but I'm older.
Right.
And I don't know what that means. And it does change things, though. Like, I do have to... Like, you and I were talking last night, Amanda. It's like, she's 19 years old. I'm 41. And I'm in that weird spot where when we talk, right, we're all hanging out on the back porch, I do not think about our age difference at all. But then I have to remind myself sometimes, like, yeah, but you're the old guy now.
Right.
Right? Like, and not like you sitting there thinking, like, terrible things about me or anything, but in your head as a 19-year-old, just like when I was 19, it's like, oh, that's like an older guy.
Right.
That's an older
Yeah.
person.
Well,
whatever,
that's like,
you know?
I go to these shows and the crowd is so much younger than me.
Right.
And I feel like I'm one of them.
Right.
But then I get somehow a reflection back from them. And I'm like, oh, I am not one of
Right.
I am not one of these kids.
But I watched that movie, and what I do feel attached to is the overall feeling of, like, I do feel like in some ways there have been people in my life that probably at the end of the day would kind of go like, will you just stop? Will you just like chill out and just like stay somewhere for a bit or like sit for a bit? I'm like endlessly restless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in the way that person is. I
Yeah.
feel like every moment, like sitting on my ass, I feel guilty about it, which is not healthy and is not the right way to approach it. I'm just saying it's always like I could be doing something right now. I could be doing something right
Yeah.
now. I could be learning something right now. I could be reading something right now. I could be writing something right now. But I'm just trying to figure out how to do it getting older and living in a truly different world than what I quote unquote grew up in because it's changed so fast.
Yeah.
Fast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know. I hold the phone and I look at it and go, there's so many great things about this. I've learned so much because of this technology, right? If I'm bored, I can go outside in my backyard when it's nice outside and bring my little Bluetooth speaker and just watch like documentary shit.
Right.
And like it's all there. I can read articles about things. But it's also the thing that when I look at my screen time thing in my phone, it's like,